Tea was fantastic, but either way, we are here to talk about South Africa versus Bangladesh. It was a great game as South Africa continue sipping on oppositions like the way I've been sipping on tea. It's been just beautiful from South Africa so far in this World Cup. You give them a venue like Wankhede, and how do you not expect them to just trounce on a team like Bangladesh? And once again, notching 300 in excess of 300 and 350, and today was 383, very close to 400. Remember, last 10 overs, as we did talk in the previews, scoring going at 14.5 runs an over. This is just crazy batting from South Africa. They have turned up to this World Cup on a mission as they are right now. And to add to all this, their bowling has been phenomenal today once again. We are back on Boom 11 once again. I have Jen and Sandeepani joining me. I'll get to Jen first up. What an incredible win for South Africa today. It was just written on the cards that South Africa would be the dominant force in a ground like Wankhede, but they have been extremely dominant. And to add it all up, every batter stepping up when they have to. And I know they got off to a shaky start by losing 2 wickets in the power play. That did not really bother them. They just kept going. They were extremely steady, matured, and they knew when to go absolutely ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, as we said in the live as well, right? Just 2 wickets is never going to be helping Bangladesh. They needed four in the power play, or at least four by the end of the 20th over, which had to be specifically De Kock, Hendricks, Van Anderson, and Markram. Because the moment, you got two of them, but you couldn't get De Kock and Markram, and then they just continued from, after that 10 overs, the first hiccup, they just went after the bowling. And we spoke about it as well, how in the power play, South Africa is not the best team in the World Cup, but in the middle overs and the death overs, that's where their batters are in their elements. And just showed today very similar. I think pretty much what we expected, from both Bangladesh as well in the second half, not being able to survive against a new ball, and then continuing to really, fall like a house of cards. But yeah, it was a great innings from Mahmudullah. Something for the Bangladeshis to cheer, but aside from that, absolutely, to be very frank, really annoying to see Bangladesh give up so tamely today.
Absolutely. Cinema, let's talk about the South African team. Given them enough praise throughout this World Cup, but every game they step up, they try to raise this bar to a certain extent, which we believe can be raised even further, and they've been doing it so comfortably in this World Cup. We can say the surfaces have really suited their kind of batting, which is the ball coming onto the bat. The surface like Delhi or in Wankhede, there's enough bounce to play up from the front foot, play through the line, and batters like Quinton de Kock, let's talk about him for a moment. He scored 300s, and in three venues he's comfortable playing in. You talk about Delhi, he's played a lot of cricket in Delhi in IPL. Talk about Lucknow, he's played a lot of cricket in Lucknow. Talk about Mumbai, he's played a lot of cricket in Mumbai. So these are three venues he's played a lot of cricket and he's showing this experience. Remember, this is last one-day tournament or last international tournament for that matter, and he's really making a statement by doing the job that he's doing for South Africa, and he's finally come good in the World Cup that we all anticipated him to come good maybe 4 years or 8 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we would have expected this coming of age Quinton de Kock saga if he would have really stepped it on in the 2015 ODI World Cup, or even if in the 2019 ODI World Cup. But I mean, it's the last, probably not probably, it's the last international series of his career, and he is absolutely making the most of it. And I am really happy for him because he did not have 100 before this. 300s in games brings his total of World Cup to five. Three, and I think he is just another 280 odd runs shy of the highest individual runs in a particular season. That the record that Sachin Tendulkar holds right now. So he has played just 5 games, 400 odd runs. Another 5 games, 280. If he can manage that, then it will be a very fitting way and a great way to sign out for Quinton de Kock. And I think he has been that sort of a batter who can really convert. Like I said, he's a Kumar Sangakkara sort of a player. You will see him probably getting those 30s, 40s, and then getting out. But if he continues to get a large score, I think he continues to play like that for the next 2-3 games as well. He can carry out his form into the next game, which is not quite common among a lot of players. And if you can do that, it's a great thing that you can totally capitalize on your good form. And I was a bit disappointed that he was out cheaply in the game against England and in the game against Netherlands as well. But South Africa would be very happy. 3 games out of the 5, they have scored way in excess of 370, 380. Today, 383, 399 against England, 428 against Sri Lanka. They are absolutely killing it. And also in the game against Australia as well, they put on a dominating performance in Lucknow as well. So this sort of pitches in Wankhede, in Chinnaswamy, it is going to really, really help. And it is going to be very good for South Africa if they can play in these surfaces. And I think batting first is the way to go. They are just batting themselves to victory. Because, well, Bangladesh could have put up a better resistance, but so could have England, right? Bangladesh still played a better version of cricket than what England did. Still, both of them fell short by 150, 200
Yeah,
odd runs.
absolutely.
And this
Absolutely.
is just dominance from South Africa. And I think the batters are doing it. I mean, you can give credit to the bowlers for picking up early wickets. But once the opposition has the pressure of coming in and chasing well in excess of 350, 380, you just have to go
Yeah.
for it. And you can't really blame the batters as well when they don't get a move on.
And not just that, in Wankhede, one thing which a lot of captains are making mistakes is that they are going by the T20 stats in Wankhede, which is not the ideal way to go because the dew often comes in an IPL game around 9 p.m. By then, almost your 35, 40 overs are done. And if you're chasing anything in excess of 317, if you're going to wait for dew to come in at 9, 9:30, remember, this is a very different season as well in Mumbai. It is not your peak summers where the humidity is very high and where you're going to see a lot more dew. It's a very
And
different
also
season.
fresh pitch and
Yeah,
fresh
fresh
wickets. I
wickets
think
as well. And when you talk about a 50 over game, by that particular time, there has been already 35, 40, what, 35 overs of second innings and 50 overs of first innings, which are close to 80, 90 overs would have been played out. And that's way too late to anticipate you to come in and for you to really have some bit of assistance. I think batting first and batting teams out have really been a good way to go about in Wankhede because it's really helping you. Number one, it doesn't do anything much once you play out the first 10, 15 overs, then you have a very good batting surface. You get the trueness of it. In the second innings, at least there's a lot of hold in the wicket. Generally, again, that's going to be, I know there are going to be a few more matches, and especially the World Cup semi-final as well here. I think Wankhede pitch needs to be read better by a lot of captains, and South Africa read it quite beautifully. I think South Africa went with their strength, which is bat first, score in excess of 300. It's the seventh consecutive time they've done it, batting first in this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think today's pitch was pretty much even. There was not. I mean, if you just look at the pitch and not at anything else, I think batting first, batting second, you face similar conditions. Only difference or the point of difference being under the lights, the ball is going to swing a lot more. It's going to cause a lot more difficulty in that first 10 overs compared to what South Africa went through. And I mean, South Africa also did not really feel comfortable in their first 10 overs. So I think overall, you have to say it was pretty even. And I think where Bangladesh ended up losing, obviously, was in those last 10 overs. They gave up 144 runs, took only 2 wickets. Often when someone scores at 14 runs per over, you would have to say that at least you get the chances of scoring, I mean, getting a lot more wickets. But it just did not seem like that was the case today. And I mean, we've already mentioned this. South Africa is a destructive team in that last 10 overs. I mean, they are just that kind of a team. I think they score. They're the best team, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, here we go. In the last 10 overs, including this match, they had an average of 49 and a strike rate of 189. That's average batter. That's one batter on an average bats at that strike rate. And that's phenomenal. I think if you look at the second best average, I think that's Afghan. I think it's India who has a better average and a strike rate than them. But yeah, aside from that, I think it is South Africa, and they've been just phenomenal in those final 10 overs. And Bangladesh, we knew that their weakness is death bowling because Mustafizur, they went for a lot of runs today. Their pacers absolutely got sold down the river. 9.2, 12 runs per over for just 3 wickets. Not at all worth it. I mean, the spinners still did a decent job. They only went at 6.15. But on a track where you would say that Pacers have a slight edge over spinners, 9.12 is just not acceptable.
Absolutely.
See, the problem is they are just batting themselves. Batting the opposition out of the game with the last 10 overs itself. And they can only do that because they have wickets in hand. So we saw in one of those games where they lost quite a few wickets early on. That is the game against Netherlands, where they really, really struggled to chase the total down. And even if you saw in the previous game as well against England, that is why we were so disappointed with England and not so much disappointed with say a Bangladesh, because they had the momentum going. They lost 2 wickets early on today. Then Markram and Quinton de Kock really stitched that partnership of 100 and 150 runs, which actually
Absolutely.
put them to a decent enough position from where they could really accelerate. And then Henrik Klaasen came in and played a Klaasen sort of a knock. This is something which did not happen against England. England let the game slip away after taking 5 wickets within the first 40 overs
Right.
itself. So I think
Right.
the only way we can stop this South African batting lineup is picking up wickets at regular intervals, because I believe if you have 4 to 5 wickets within the first 25 to 30 overs, the tempo will not be as much as we saw today. They'll start taking risks after the 40 to 42nd over. That is what we saw against England as well. Both Jansen and Klaasen at one point were playing 5 to 6 runs per over till the 40 or 41st over. And then from there on, they went berserk. And that is what they'll be expecting to do in future as well.
Absolutely. But one thing which we have to really talk about is the fact that South African middle order bats have been the major difference in this tournament. And we've often seen South African players being really good players who spin, but this is a lot more aggressive team against spin in comparison with the previous team. And that's made a lot of difference, isn't it? For them to not just be good against spin, but at the same time not to lose wickets and also to dominate spin in a way that it takes the spin threat out of the attack and then to have a lot of wickets in their kitty to go berserk in the last 10 overs. And that's been a template they've followed since the first game of this tournament. They've been attacking against the spinners, had wickets in the end, last 10 overs, they've scored in excess of 10, 11 runs per over. And that's been a very successful pattern which they've developed. And I think going ahead as well, especially talking about a Pakistan game which they'll have, they'll definitely be looking to target Pakistan spinners who are underconfident at this point. And Satyamani, how big a factor this has been, attacking the spinners out of the game?
I think that is a very, very crucial point, especially if you are playing in the subcontinents. You have to play spin well, and most of the opposition will employ at least 20 overs of spin in the middle. And I think they haven't yet faced two of the best spinning sides in the world right now. I mean, in this tournament at least, because you see India and Afghanistan, they are yet to play both of them, and I think they will pose a major better threat than what the other spinners have posed till now. Because if you see today's game as well, Shakib Al Hasan was probably coming out after an injury, and he was taken down the cleanest towards the end. If you remember, he was bowling really well up front. He had some figures of 37 for 1 after the end of 7 overs. And then in the last 3 overs is when Quinton de Kock with the angle really took the attack on him. And they could do that because they had wickets in hand. So I think if you can just chip in the middle with regular wickets at regular intervals, that is when you can really stem the run flow as well. And that is what experienced spinners will do. No doubt, Henrik Klaasen, Aiden Markram are very good players of spin. Even a David Miller, I think David Miller was one of the best players of spin towards the death overs in the IPL in the last 2 years. That is why Gujarat Titans were able to really post these huge totals right at the end, even if though they were losing 4 wickets at the end of 13 or 14 overs itself. But
Yeah.
having said that, I think you have to chip in, and they are taking risks. If they have wickets in hand, they are taking risks, and that is where you need to take those half chances whenever you get them. And you really have to be top on the field as well. I think today it was still a better fielding performance from the last game for Bangladesh, but I still feel that they are below par on that front as well.
Okay, we'll take some couple of more questions here. Why does it feel like 400 can be scored in every third innings and an individual 200 will be scored easily right now? I think it's the batting surfaces right there. And in this World Cup, I mean, this is a World Cup it should have been in 2019, but good that we are seeing the true nature of Indian surfaces, especially Mumbai or for the matter, good Firozshah Kotla surface or Bangalore for the matter. All these are true batting. We've seen them in the IPL multiple times, and it's really coming into the fore in a World Cup like this. India would like to face South Africa in the semi-final rather than New Zealand, Australia. I don't know. To be honest, we'll be playing South Africa and Mumbai. So would you want to reconsider that? Maybe. So that's one factor. Also, since today was a holiday, they should have been scheduled. They should have scheduled 2 matches. I think today wasn't going to be possible because a lot of security reasons as well around. So I personally think that's one of the reasons why there was no 2 matches today. But then let's talk about Henrik Klaasen, isn't it? Because we've spoken about Quinton de Kock earlier in the show. But Henrik Klaasen, the consistency at which he's scoring runs this year, I mean, striking at close to 160, both pace and spin. And on top of all that, average, look at his average, it's close to 70. I mean, okay, we've all seen X Factor players who can score at 160, 170, but it's always tough to maintain consistency when you're scoring at that rate. okay, we talk about AB de Villiers, but AB de Villiers and all these players are once in a generation players. This is a Andre Klaassen, who we all have seen for the last 6 7 years, who've been there thereabouts, but he never really took that big step until this year finally arrived. Or you can say 2022, the end of 2022. You can say he's
He
finally
was
in a
not a
progress
sure
that
shot starter in the playing 11 last year as well.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was not even sure shot starter in the T20 World Cup for the matter. But now, if you're putting any team in the world, he's a number one pick as a wicketkeeper batter, most likely because of what he brings in a T20 team or even in a one day format team. And that's an exemplary record which Henrik Klaassen has carried. Let it be IPL, let it be in the South African team. And he's going to be their decisive factor. If South Africa have to get their maiden World Cup or if they have to progress really deep into this tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think when we spoke about the start of this game itself, right? We said how this is a ground perfectly made for Heinrich Klaassen. Loves playing square of the wicket against spinners, and the shorter boundaries were square of the wicket. So nothing that you could have done to stop Heinrich Klaassen except for hope that your ballers come with a brilliant delivery or Heinrich Klaassen makes a mistake, neither of which happened till he had already done the damage. So I think overall you just have to say that there comes a point in time where you just have to give up, and I think that's what the Bangladeshi spinners did today. I think more than spinners, it was what their fast bowlers did. This lad has just been, I think it's phenomenal, right? Either you score at a strike rate that he's scoring at, but don't have a very good average, or you score at a very good average, like some of our greats, and not have a very good strike rate. But this guy is just doing it both, and it's not supposed to be humanly possible. So obviously, this is just the first year. It's probably the coming of age year for him, where his career has finally turned around. Still need to see if he can continue it further. But whatever it is, all I can say is, as long as it lasts, I'm gonna be sitting here and enjoying it. As long as it doesn't do it against India, I think till then I'm fine.
That's a good one. But another factor to this is also how Henrik Klaassen could be now one of the bigger names. If at all he goes into an IPL auction for that matter, I think he can break a lot of banks. And I don't think Sunrisers will ever do that mistake of letting go of Henrik Klaassen anytime soon as well. And if people are already on the verge of saying that he's had a better record than AB de Villiers in the World Cup, I think it's true. If Henrik Klaassen can win South Africa the World Cup, he'll be remembered as one of the greatest of all time from South African cricket. Let's be very honest. And I think this team has got something about them, which a lot of other teams have had in the past. But if they have to believe in themselves, it's about performing in these big days and to be consistent enough to do it time and time again. Now, the Pakistan game is their biggest test, I believe. Until now, I know they've had an Australian and English test, which could have also been bigger test for them. But in Chennai, let's talk about the next game with South Africa, please, which is Pakistan. Underconfident Pakistan team in Chennai. You reckon they will be backing themselves to play a similar approach, or will they tinker anything for the Chennai pitch?
See, I think that is where South Africa will really be tested, because if they try to adopt this template into the Chennai game, I think that is when we can probably see some loopholes in this South African batting lineup, because they will actually be tested once they lose early wickets up front. Not 2 wickets, but 3 to 4 wickets within the first 20 overs, like Jerin mentioned. Bangladesh did get 2 wickets today up front, and that then they couldn't really capitalize and put the pressure. Aiden Markram and Quinton de Kock were allowed to go at a pace of 6 runs per over in between from 10 to 40 or 30, 35 overs. And then they accelerated and took their score way past 350. So this is something that Pakistan cannot allow. Having said that, the spell from Shaheen Shah Afridi up front is going to be really important, because he has been that one player who somehow gets wickets. Even if he does not get it up front, he manages to take 1 or 2 wickets in the second spell as well. But I think the huge concern for Pakistan is the spin bowling department. Usama made traveling bowling really ordinarily yesterday. I think I really wanted to be there yesterday, but some conditions I couldn't be there. So Usama made, and then I think Pakistan identified that Mohammad Nawaz was more of a liability than an asset, and they got in a Shadab Khan, who turned out to be an asset for them with the bat, but with the ball, he's also a big liability for them. And they don't have good spinners, and I think Saud Shakil hasn't been given the ball. Very, very ordinary captaincy from Babar Azam. I think Babar Azam will have to step up his captaincy by some notches to
I
actually pose a
think
threat to
Babar
this South
Azam is
African
going to
line.
step down on his captaincy now. I
Yeah,
genuinely don't see him up
either
to this
step up
World
against
Cup.
South Africa or really step down, because I think there's a huge pressure going to come from Pakistan as well.
Yeah,
If
it's the worst
they,
time for Pakistan to play any team like South Africa at this point. I mean, it would have been okay if they're playing South Africa. We're underconfident, but look at the circumstances, look at the form, what
but I
they're
think
running. They're running
over
into
the
a
past few years, ICC record between Pakistan and South Africa, Pakistan have really dominated that head-to-head record. So I think they are going to turn up
I don't think
confident at
streaks
least.
or records matter in this stage. To be very fair, I think it's just form, and if you talk about just form,
I
I
Yeah,
mean, if
think
you
South
I
talk
mean,
Africa
about
come
momentum
in.
is an
streaks,
important factor, but you saw South Africa absolutely demolish Sri Lanka and Australia and then lose to Netherlands. So
I
this
still
South
think
African team is a huge
South
underdog.
Africa chasing is a different team in comparison to South Africa batting first. As simple as that.
Yeah, but then again, that is where South Africa will have to prove themselves. But I mean, Pakistan are not the best team. I mean, setting a target as well. I think they pose a target 40 to 50 runs below par, and they expect their bowlers to come in and do the job for them. And that is why the batters often have it easy in the middle overs where they can just knock it around. Just have to be cautious in the power play against them, and then you'll just dominate the game. And this is what I have maintained from the start as well. We saw Afghanistan do exactly that. Don't lose too many wickets up front, or don't lose any wickets up front, and then just dominate your big rival and just complete it with 8 wickets in hand. It was a demolition job done against them. So Pakistan will be really hurting after that blow. And remember, Pakistan have lost 3 on the trot right now: India, Australia, and now Afghanistan. And I think from all the points of view, all these 3 games are really going to hurt them. The one against India was it was hyped up in such a way, and they lost its one-sidedly. But I mean, it was a demolition job done by India as well against Pakistan. Similar was the case with Afghanistan as well. We had some predictors coming in and saying that I mean, you can Pakistan will win at least by 100 runs. It's unfortunate that they I mean, couldn't set a target of say 487. Then probably they would have won by 100 runs. But
Absolutely.
287, I think, on that pitch with players greats of all time going at a strike rate of 75 was a joke. And I mean, people can rate it as a huge knock, and the only knock under pressure which allowed Pakistan to get to a 282. But I think if he would have been dismissed earlier, I think Shadab Khan and Iftikhar Ahmed would have posted something better than 282.
Okay. Interesting. That's a good point. When will Bauma come back or will he get out? I think Bauma
I
might
hope he
not
does
come
not
back.
come back.
I
I
don't
think
think he'll
he,
come
even
back,
if he
to
is
be honest.
fit, I think even if he is fit, they're going to go with Riza Hendricks. And I have maintained
Absolutely.
Aiden Markram is a better captain than Bavuma, hands down.
Absolutely. How come Alan not helping Bangladesh bowlers to take wickets? I don't think he's the one who's going out there and bowling. So he can only possibly strategize for them. But Bangladesh bowlers have to execute, and they've been all over the place. I don't think Bangladesh team is in a good atmosphere right now. They all have to do a lot of things outside the game. South Africa has proved that
exactly.
team batting first can also win irrespective of the pitch and due. Absolutely right. I think South Africa at this point would want to outbat teams, and they've gone in with that approach. Let's see how long it works. At one point, that will also end, but they also want to be comfortable chasing. As
I
I think one
think
of them raised this comment in the afternoon saying that they
South
want to get
Africa is
comfortable
the
with
new
it.
England. You know, South Africa, I think, is a new England right now. But I slightly think they have a better bowling attack than what England had in 2019. England
Yeah,
2019 was a lot buffered up because of Jofra Archer. Remove Jofra
yeah.
Archer from that 2019 World Cup team, and then I think they would have been really under pressure. And probably that's what's exposed them this year around, you know. But that's a
Remove
whole
Jofra
other
Archer from the
conversation.
2019 ODI World Cup and you get the
Yeah,
current team.
I think
I
exactly,
think
precisely. So, but yeah, good to see Elvish by here in the comment section.
Oh,
I
I
think
think Rajesh
Pakistan could
Matthew, I
spring
think
a
you got
surprise
it
as they
wrong
have
over
nothing
there.
to lose.
I think they have
I
everything
mean,
to lose. The next game, they have
I,
everything to lose. They haven't
yeah, I
lost
think they'll
anything
be under
yet.
more pressure now. There's nothing to lose. I think it's a different Pakistan. It's not the unpredictability what we're talking about. It's that they don't look like a team at all. It's unlike
No,
any other
because
Pakistan.
Rajesh, you have
There's
to
nothing in
understand that,
their team to say there'll be a surprise there.
and
Everything is
also they'll
very,
have to win 4 on the trot, right? So if
yeah,
still now they have things under their hands, but if they
yeah,
lose the next one, they will lose everything. Then they'll have to depend on India.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I also feel, for a lot of reasons, this Pakistan has become extremely predictable. One good factor with Pakistan over the years was their unpredictability. The moment that is gone, you reckon that's really nullified Pakistan threat. Everybody knows what you can really expect from Pakistan on a given day now, with their bowling changes, with their fielding, with every single thing. And we've got something to say. Elvish bhai ke samne koi bolega kya? Elvish bhai. So, Elvish bhai, Elvish Army Alert, say Elvish bhai KG. I don't even know who Elvish bhai is, to be very fair. Who
Don't
on
say that.
earth
Come
is he,
on.
man? According
उसके
to you, any
सामने कोई नहीं बोल सकता.
future upset in World Cup, Pakistan winning a game is an upset. So, any game Pakistan wins
No,
is a
I
future
think
upset.
Abel, you're absolutely dead wrong. I think there have been quite a few upsets. Every game that Pakistan has lost is an upset. They're world number two, partially world number one. So I
Yeah,
think you're wrong about it. I think any team that beats Pakistan is an upset. So yeah,
yeah, I agree.
they're the best team in
Afghanistan
the
was a
world.
big
I
upset.
think a lot of pitch fixing has been done. That's a new term that I met.
Yeah,
It's the
pitch fixing.
worst term in the
I
world,
can't.
Abel.
That's a good
I
one
swear
though.
to God.
I agree with Mohammad Hafiz completely. When you
So
have to sit there and talk about
I
some
mean,
nonsense, you have to come up
you
with that
remember
stuff. But I
how
really don't
when
want
they
to talk
got a
about
pitch?
Pakistan anymore, to be honest. And let's just end that debate of
Yeah,
Pakistan.
yeah.
I've had enough of it over the last 24 hours. I mean, if you want to sit in your TV rooms and talk about India, all that they have is pitch fixing and all this
I mean,
crowd.
I'll just add
Jilted.
one line of hypocrisy to it. I think when they faced India, they called it a turning pitch because they couldn't score runs.
Yeah,
And I think but sorry, India scored runs, so they called it a flat track. And they said that Indians are happy about it. Then when they got a spinning track yesterday, they are like, it's a spinning track, and India wanted us to play on a spinning track. So I don't understand this now. I mean, and
I think it's just the lack of education.
no, and then my favorite part is world famous journalist from Pakistan was very happy or unhappy with the Indian board that India versus New Zealand is happening in Dharamshala. And he called Indian officials or Indian administrators, I think for fair enough, for a lack of a better word, not smart enough for having a New Zealand match in Dharamshala. I think these guys should know that ICC is still an autonomous body, and in many ways it takes its own decisions.
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
agree with you completely. I absolutely agree with you. I'll ban this channel if you don't support Elvish Bhai. You are anti-national. You what? You are nationals. What do you say?
I support
Anti-national.
Elvis Bhai. I
Okay.
think Abel is the one who should be banned.
I don't know who Elvish
Yeah.
Bhai is, man. To be very honest. So, either way, let's not talk about it. What next for Bangladesh cricket from here on? I mean,
Uh,
they have got yet another World Cup where they could have done a little better. If they would have won today, you never know. They could have been there in that 4 point traffic jam, which has been created by a lot of teams right now. But they're
Next,
missing out on these opportunities time and time. And after that game against Afghanistan, they have not really turned up into this World Cup.
exactly,
I
and I
mean
think
that.
right now, I think what they can do is they can really pack their bags and go ahead, because one win out of five is not going to cut them. I mean, now they have no chance of making it to the next.
Yeah, I mean,
They can
I
just
like
play
what
party
Shakib
spoilers
said
right
though.
now.
I like what Shakib said though. He said that they still have something to play for, which is that top eight spot before the next Champions Trophy. So he's already realized and decided that there's no scope of top four. At least his team has something to play for. I think that's not a bad way to look at things.
What
You're
if
giving
England
your
doesn't make it to the Champions Trophy?
But I
let's
think I have
let's
one problem with
Yeah.
what Shakib says in some of the interviews. I think that just I mean, you can say
yeah, he's
he
too
just
frank.
wants to, yeah, he just wants to portray himself as the underdog everywhere he goes. But I think
Yeah.
that can be a bit annoying after a certain point. I mean, you're coming here to win, not to come here in the top eight, and
I
that is the
mean,
attitude. If the captain gives that attitude out to the players, I think that sets the wrong tone for some of the other players. I think he's a
just
very good
compare
captain.
that, right?
Yeah.
Just compare that to what I think it was no, who was it from Netherlands? Van de Merwe said.
What it words.
He was like, I am not happy with 282. I wanted
Yeah.
300. I want to win the World Cup. Let's be greedy. And look
Yeah,
at
exactly.
how well they are doing, right? So I agree with you on that.
And I think they are playing their hearts out in every of the game. I was so impressed with Netherlands in the game against Sri Lanka just because of the fact that I mean, they just had 250 to defend. First of all, they weren't about to, I mean, go to score 250 after being 91 for 6. So the fighting spirit that they have showed back-to-back games, one the game against South Africa, the game against Sri Lanka, and then in the fielding effort, you could see they were employing a sleep when, I mean, just 5 runs were needed per over. They had 6-7 wickets in hand, Sri Lanka, but they were keeping a slip. They were keeping 6 fielders in the circle, trying to save that single runs. You could feel the energy on the pitch. There was a certain buzz about this Netherlands team, and I think that is the spirit that you should have. No matter you win, you lose, you will win some, you will lose some, but you shouldn't let your shoulders drop early on in the season. Shakib does that before the game itself. He says that we are the underdogs. Even if we go on to win, it is going to be a huge upset. I mean, you can't captain a side that has had some great results in the past in the World Cups. You talk about 2015 World Cup, they made it to the quarterfinals, and you can't
Yeah.
have their captain coming in and saying that, yeah, it's okay, we are playing for the top 8 spot. That is just rubbish.
I think the
I agree
last
with you
two World
because you
Cups have
can't do
really.
that. You can't do that. And Shakib has done it multiple times. I think it was the
Hmm.
last T20 World Cup where he went on to give up way too early, and it's once again it has
He was
happened with
saying our
Shakib.
youngsters will learn a lot from the game against India. I mean, that is not why you're playing the T20 World Cup. You're playing to win, not to learn.
Exactly. I think Shakib has always been caught out for whatever he has spoken in the media, and once again, I
I
think it's
think
just
some of it is lost in translation, but also I think his
Yeah.
attitude is really still
I
very
remember we had a
underwhelming.
very specific same conversation to the 2020 World Cup and 2021 World Cup as well, the T20 World
yeah,
2022 rather, where we spoke about a very similar thing, right? And I think Shakib, I mean, it's not a question his captaincy or whatever, but 2019, 2021, 2022, I think they've not really done well under Shakib as a captain. And we knew coming into this World Cup, this team is going to struggle because this team was not in the right space of mind.
yep.
So much chaos and so much anguish right at the start of the World Cup between Shakib and Tamim. Tamim is one of, I think, most indisputably one of the best batters in the one day format for sure for Bangladesh. So for them to have that big clash and then come into this World Cup, there's a lot that is going wrong with Bangladesh. There's a lot that's going wrong in the domestic circuit as well. A lot of players having disciplinary issues and a lot of veteran Bangladeshi players. So a lot is
But then
wrong with the
again,
system.
Jerin, that is the problem, right? That is why they are not
Yeah.
the you do not see Shikhar Dhawan come out and say, why was I not chosen for the World Cup? You have to have that conversation in the internal process as well. You shouldn't let the world know that you are having a rift with the captain, or it's not good between Tamim and Shakib. Even England, after omitting Jason Roy, they had that internal conversation where Jason Roy was obviously not happy, but he did not go out on the press and say that, why am I not there in the team? I was instrumental in 2019 England's successful campaign. Why am I not there in the team? That is something which you should not do, and that is something that Bangladesh lacks. You see the sportsman spirit. That is where Bangladesh, over the recent years, you talk about Tamim Iqbal, you talk about Mushfiqur Rahim. I think even a Shakib Al Hassan, I think they really lack that spirit of the game factor. And but you have to give credit where credit is due. I think Quinton de Kock scored his third ODI World Cup 100 along with his third World Cup 100 in this season. So did Mahmudullah, 200s
Yep.
in 2015, 37
Yeah.
years coming into play his fourth World Cup, was slotted in to come in at number 8 in the game against New Zealand, and then coming in against South Africa, scoring a century,
Remember, he
and
played
that
a
just
very
shows
good
us,
finishing knock against India as well, and he's been doing that
yeah,
for so many years
fighting,
now.
fighting knock, not a very good finishing knock, I would say, but I would
Remember
say it was a fighting knock.
2015 that England World Cup as well, England defeat. I think he was one of the better
Yeah,
batters in that match as well.
exactly.
He's been so clutch for them. He's not someone who plays very well in bilaterals. He's a big match player. He always comes good in these kind of situations. And one thing about this guy is he's not. I think if you look at it right, he's pretty much an unsung hero. You never speak about a Mohammedullah, but whenever Bangladesh needs a player, he's the one who stands up.
That is why players like Mushfiqur Rahim should really kick themselves, because they are not performing in the big
Hmm.
tournaments. They are doing their job in the bilateral series. But if we talk about Mushfiqur Rahim, he hasn't really stepped up in the 5 World Cup seasons that he has played. Apart from say the 2007 game where they really knocked out India with Tamim Iqbal, Shakib Al Hassan, and Mushfiqur Rahim scored half centuries. But apart from that game, you haven't really had that Mushfiqur Rahim factor winning Bangladesh games single-handedly. Shakib has done that. Tamim has done that, and I think Mahmudullah has done that to a certain extent as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll take some questions here. Once again, okay, this the only sensible thing which Park can do is stop cricket and start playing local games in China, Europe, in order to, in order to have less pleasure pressure. So has Afghanistan played Bangladesh yet? Yeah, they did play Bangladesh in the first game of the
And that is
tournament.
the game that is really going to hurt Afghanistan. Because think about it, Afghanistan, if they would have won that game against Bangladesh, it would have been 3 out of 5 for Afghanistan, and they
Yeah,
were going to pose a serious threat into that. They were knocking the doors on the number 4 spot as well.
Yeah.
but they're still there. Look at their next
They're
game,
still there.
Netherlands, Sri Lanka, and then if they can take
Yeah. I
one
mean,
out of Australia and South Africa, as we discussed yesterday, you never know with this team. This team can still make it.
I
South
just want
Africa
to
would be a huge game that they would be looking for if they can somehow go ahead and set the target and then put the pressure on South Africa. I think that is the way to go about it.
Rob Key is here, guys. That is so nice to see you, Rob Key.
Some crab curries next. Lankan crab, yummy. Okay, that's interesting. Robkey is finally here, and obviously, when
I mean,
Robkey
we
is
asked
here,
for him
that
in the last
also
game.
means bad news for other teams. That
Yeah.
certainly means Sri Lanka are gone, and I'm scared for India now that Robkey is here. What do you
Yeah.
reckon, Robkey? Who do you are you supporting for this World Cup?
I
If you
think it's
can,
evident who Rob Key is supporting for
Yeah.
the
I
World
mean,
Cup.
come on, Abel.
Otherwise, I think he'll be labeled a anti-national.
No, I think they don't
wow,
use those kind of terms there. I think, oh, India. I think
interesting.
the change in regime in England has really helped change Rob Key's opinions since the last time we spoke. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, but to be very honest, if Rob Key is to be here on our YouTube as the director of English cricket and is being very honest and very straightforward with his opinions, I mean we can't ask for anything more. Director of English cricket right there for you all, and then he's being very honest with his takes. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we want in our channel. Honest opinions. And Kapil says looks like someone has given key to teams in order to rob their World Cup hopes. I agree. But let's talk about this finally, right? From here on, who are your top four? I mean, there's nothing much which is seen from this match, but still, who are your top four?
I
I think
think
it's
top four
still
as
the
it
same.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But although you know what, I think South Africa has gone ahead of New Zealand now. So South Africa India becomes a very important match to see. You know who plays the more less informed team. I think that's the only way to describe that. Because obviously, I think most likely Australia ends up at number 4. You won't call them a bad team, or India will have an advantage by coming at the top spot.
No,
But
I
yeah,
think
I
I
think
wouldn't still give South Africa that pole position because I still feel in the 4 games that they have left, they have still dominated whatever they have played in. But I still feel that there is a chance that South Africa is going to slip a bit because don't forget that they haven't really finished well in any of the ICC World Cup tournaments, be it 50 overs, 20 overs, Champions Trophy. They haven't done well in any
you know,
of them
fun
towards
fact,
the end.
guys. There's only one trophy that I think South Africa has won, which used to be the Champions Trophy once upon a time. It was
Yeah,
not called the Champions Trophy. I don't remember the name of it, but it used to be
I think it was
sponsored by some. I
knockout
think it was
tournament. Yeah.
yeah. It was not called an ICC event, and then when it became an ICC event, that's again they started losing that as well. So the inaugural event that they
Okay.
won, I'll come back to it. I think let me just do a little bit of research, but yeah,
Yeah,
did
that's true. That's
Rob
true. It
Key.
was not an ICC event. Yes, exactly. It was not an ICC event. After that, it became the ICC Champions Trophy. It was just like a quadrangular series kind of a thing. Does present top four become the final top four? That's what everybody says. I like to believe Afghanistan would like to. You're like chicken Rogan Ghosh. Okay, I really think Rob K is rather a chef rather than an administrator of English cricket. Chicken Rohan Ghosh, and these are two different dishes, isn't it? Chicken and Rohan Ghosh. I think Rohan Ghosh Ghost rather is a mutton dish, and chicken Rogan Ghost. I know if you want to really check that
Rogan
out.
Josh.
It's nice. Yeah, Sandeepani is a big fan of Rogan Ghost. You go to Sandeepani and he'll make you a good Rogan Ghost. He's a man behind all.
Absolutely.
He's a good chef, guys. So that's about it from us for tonight. I mean, we've had good food discussions. We've had good discussion on cricket, and I want this show to be more tending towards a mix of all things.
Yeah.
Food, news, not politics, but
Talk
food
about
and cricket.
food. Australia goes on to lose tomorrow against Netherlands because I think then Hedden and a lot of people will be talking about food as well.
But
It's going to
let's
be a
be honest,
important game for Australia.
Travis said it's back, so that's good news for Australia.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk about it. Thoughts on tomorrow's game? I think Australia will win it. Australia should win it, and
If
there's no.
Australia wins it, then you have broad daylight between the top 4 and the rest.
I think that's how it is going to be, and I think Australia will win it hands down. With Travis head back, and if he starts firing, I think that team is pretty hard to
All right,
stop them
guys.
from there on.
I just got back from it. So it was called the Willis International Cup in 1998. They won it. Then the next time around, they changed it to the Champions Trophy in 2000, ICC Champions Trophy, and from then on, they haven't won that either. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's the name ICC after all.
yeah, it's the name
That's the
ICC.
major issue. Otherwise, South Africa would have had no issues when it comes to World Cup. They should have had at least a couple of them by now. 99 was their World Cup, or 2015 was their World Cup.
But
Butter
I think
chicken or
South
chicken
Africa
tikka.
haven't
The only
really
other
been.
trophy that they have won is gold medal again in 1998 Commonwealth, not an ICC event. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to believe this, that South Africa have been the favorites heading into most of the ICC tournaments in
Yeah.
the 2000 late 2000s and early 2010s,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then they had this 2000 from say
But can
I
we
think
2019
be
they
onwards.
were the world number
extremely
one.
harsh on South Africa? They have just played what, four, three, six World Cups at this point, 6, 7 World Cups, and
That is
we've been
still
very
enough
harsh.
to at least have an impact and go till the finals, right? If
No,
you
Come on,
are
even
one
that's
of the
very
top
harsh on a team.
most of the
It's just
World Cups. I
six
think
World Cups.
2003, 2007, they were the world number one team in one day format leading into that World Cup. So you don't expect the and if you look at the past three World Cups, I think the past two World Cups at least, world number one team has won the one day World Cup. You expect world number one team to do really well in a World Cup. And South Africa did
You're
do
telling
well
me
for the
Pakistan
majority
will
of
win
it.
the World Cup?
I think it
India
has
was the
changed
world
to
number
India.
one. India was the
No,
world
it
number
doesn't
one
matter.
leading into
That's
this.
flawed rankings, guys. In my ranking, Pakistan number one.
I
That's
think
what
Babar
matters.
Azam will
But
win
that's the
the
point,
trophy for
but
the most
it's
runs.
ICC rankings that matters and not Abel's rankings.
Okay, but IC rankings are flawed. Let me make it. Butter chicken or
I
chicken
think
tikka masala? I don't want
it's
to
a
answer
bit
this.
too harsh on Pakistan, that you guys are playing only 50 overs. I think if it would have been say 150 overs game, and I mean, not even, you can't call it test, because then red ball again, they wouldn't understand how to stay at the crease. But white ball cricket, 150 overs, give them flat tracks, and I think Babar Azam would have broken Sachin Tendulkar's record by now.
No, but
I think
according to
it's
them, they
unfair
couldn't do
to
that
go at a
against
side
India.
of 70, 75. Yeah.
They couldn't do that against India, unfortunately, on a flat track. That's what they called it.
But I mean, you have to give them bowling lineups like Nepal or say a Zimbabwe. I think you can't expect them to give, I mean, bowlers like
True, true.
Kuldeep Yadav, and
I
then
think
ask them to hit.
India just should have just put a bowling machine there and sat in the AC room. That's the
I'm
That
mistake
is
they
what they
made.
thinking,
get practice for. I mean, Harris Shroff bowls at 150 kilometers per hour in the nets in the game as well.
Yeah,
yeah, Bengali fishermen were roasted by us. I think you guys are
I
only
think
able to do that in this entire tournament so far. So unfortunate. That's the only opportunity you got to roast anyone in this World Cup. Other than that, Afghani chicken or let it be South African steamed rice and everything had a bad stomach bug, which has been caused to you all. So I think at this point, next is crab curry. I hope it doesn't cause you some bug, and then you're gonna come up with a butter chicken or chicken tikka masala. I hope that is also food poisoning for you. Ultimately, you will have your way back into hospitals of Heathrow or Birmingham. Have a good night, all of you. Take care, stay safe, and see you
And
all
if you are
very
in
soon.
Bengal, I would say Shubho Vijaya to all the Bengali watchers over here, and happy
Yeah,
Dashera to all
yeah.
across
Happy
people
Dashera,
in
happy
happy to
India
share
and
Dashera.
all
that.
across
Yeah.
this world. Yeah, good night, guys.
Duckworth robbed them of final berth in 1992.
Actually, Duckworth came post it.
It
There was
was
a
Yeah,
a
running.
minimum runs per over rule. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we
minimum
have done a
runs per
video
over.
on that, or I think we'll
yeah, we
Yes,
have,
soon
we
do a
have.
video on that.
we have. So, 2003, yes, 2003 was another instance, and obviously 1999 when Herschel Gibbs dropped the catch. With that note, I'm just
Drop the
dropping a
World
good
Cup.